and welcome to KXAN Plus. I'm your host, Esmeralda Zamora, and we have our Nick's First Warning episode with our chief meteorologist, Nick Bannin. Nick, thanks for joining me. How you doing?
Hey, it's our final one of 2025. Can you believe it?
I can't believe that it's gone this fast, and we're already near January, but I know everyone is excited to see what this next year's weather is going to be, right?
I know, and of course we're not going to predict the full year of weather, but we can give you some hints on what exactly we think the month and the year will start like, and the latest January outlooks are out. And as far as the rainfall outlook, it's looking a little drier than normal. Of course, we ended December drier than normal. It has been a while since we've had some significant, heavy, widespread rain that has led to wetter than normal conditions. But back to being leaning drier than normal here for January. Of course, this says rainfall outlook. Most of our precipitation comes in the form of rain, but not always. But how we can determine that is melt down whatever precipitation falls, whether it's sleet, snow, freezing rain, what have you.
Wintry mix.
Into rain. Yeah, exactly. And then you can sort of determine how much liquid equivalent actually fell down. But when we're talking about it being drier than normal, we are not just talking about rain, but we mean precipitation of all kinds.
All kinds, and hopefully the fun kinds this January.
Yeah, we do like a little bit of snow, especially if it comes on a weekend and doesn't get in the way of a whole lot.
Weekdays.
Yeah, exactly. Not bothering your school or work day too much. But I know the kids like this.
Yeah, those tiny snowmen.
Yeah.
Well, January is supposed to be our coldest month of the season. Can we expect that this season?
Well, it could still be our coldest month of the year, but it is leaning warmer than normal. Warmer than normal does not mean not cold. It just means not as cold as normal when you sum up the whole month. Now, the darker the shades here, you can see the higher the confidence and the likelihood of it being warmer than normal. So near normal temperatures for Oklahoma in January, then you head farther and farther south, and it trends warmer than normal. Now, this is not trends warmer because it's farther south. It's warmer than normal. So it's a comparison to our already reasonably mild typical temperatures in January, and it's warmer than that. But it doesn't mean that we can't get some blasts of cold, some Arctic outbreaks that last a few days here and there that bring us some nighttime freezes and some very frigid days. We've already had a couple rounds of that type of cold where we haven't got out of the 40s during the afternoons on a couple of occasions already this winter. But as far as January looks, leaning warmer than normal as a whole. Now, interestingly, last winter, we had a very warm December. This winter, we had a very warm December. Top 10 warmest on record. But last winter, January and February were among the coldest Januaries and Februaries that we've seen. So the weather of December does not necessarily have an impact on what you see in January and February. It can still be much colder in those months despite a very warm December. However, this January is looking to be somewhat of a continuation, at least at first, of the warmer than normal temperatures we've had in much of December. That being said, we're seeing some signs that maybe around the middle of the month, we get a little more of a taste of some wintry weather or winter-like cold. But again, the month as a whole is still leaning warmer than normal.
And I think that a lot of our residents may be sad that we're warmer than normal this year and not seeing the snow that we saw last year, the wintry mix. Mm-hmm. But it's important to remember it's not just us, right? It's everyone around us as well, seeing warmer than normal temperatures this Christmas week and New Year's week.
Yeah, and, there's so much of, you're right. It's not just here, Central Texas. Much of the state, much of the southern United States have been warmer than normal. That is typical with a La Nina winter. And of course, we're still in one. Here's what normal is. So this is where we're comparing ourselves to. January average highs at the beginning of the month, 62. But by the end of the month, 64. So whereas December through the month, we were getting colder on average, January, we start gradually getting warmer by the end of the month. So it's our coldest period of the year is earlier in January, and then temperatures start to climb on average. Not by much, but they do climb by the end of the month. Our average low for January at the beginning of the month is 42. By the end of the month, it's 43. We average 2.64 inches of rain. It does average out to be our coldest month of the year and our fourth driest month of the year. So we typically don't get much in the way of rainfall in January. And then February is our driest month of the whole year, even drier than July. So winter driest season as well. So it's not a season that we get a lot of wet weather, period. And then to be leaning drier than normal for January only means that we're going to be even drier than what is usually one of our drier months of the year.
And what about our freezes for this January? Will we see our first freeze somewhat in the beginning of the month or towards the middle?
Yeah, so we've had our first freeze of the winter months or the cold season months already. We say that because you can get them in November and that's not winter yet. You can get them in March and that's not winter anymore. So we'll sort of wrap it up by calling it the cold season and not just winter. But we've only had one freeze in Austin through December the 29th.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah, we could get a couple here as we wrap up the month of December. But generally speaking, we've only had one. Now, we don't average a ton by now, but we average more than one. And a typical winter or typical cold season from November 1st through, say, April averages 12. Last year, though, we had not even had one by now. And then we ended up with 14 by the end of winter.
And that was during January and February,
January and
right?
February, yeah. We did a lot of catching up during those months last winter. So we're already running ahead of where we were last winter, but obviously not by much. This is how our freezes are typically spaced out through the year. We average 1 in November, 3 in December, 5 in January. So it is the month that averages the most freezes for us. February averages 2, and then by March, we're down to just 1. So I think the surprising thing here is that February doesn't have that many, even though February is a month that we associate with a lot of wintry weather. Really, we see fewer freezes on average in February compared to December. But remember, we've only had one so far through December 29th. So we're still running short by about 3 before the end of the year. And then we'll see how January catches up there. There are some signs, though, that, again, middle of January, we may get a little bit more of that winter-like cold because the beginning of the month does look like it is going to start dry.
Wow. So we have not yet started with our freezes, but is there still a possibility for a cold blast in January?
Yeah, I mean, and they're more frequent in January into the first part of February. The coldest time of the year, climatologically speaking, is January 2nd through the 14th. That's when our average temperatures reach the lowest that they get the whole year round. So our coldest average low of the whole year is 41, and our coldest average high of the whole year is 62. And the time that we see those both reach their lowest of the year is from January 2nd through the 14th. So that's typically our coldest time of the year here in Central Texas. So then it means that once you get past the 14th, you're like, hey, we're done with the coldest part of the year already. It doesn't mean that you can't get some late January or early February surprises and wintry weather, but it does mean that you're past the typical worst of winter here in Central Texas, of which this winter hasn't really been all that bad at all.
So we're practically staying warm this winter. We stayed warm most of December. When can we expect to go past or lower than 40 degrees?
Well, we've had some 30s already. We've had that one freeze in Austin's Camp Mabry here so far this season through December 29th. I expect that we'll get more of those freezes in January and February. I can't see us staying at 1. I think we'll probably end up near average for freezes by the end of winter because you can get one cold little week there in January and February, and then you're back to average again. Yeah. So I would expect middle of January is when we start to add some more of those overnights in the 30s and potentially freezes back together. And then looking beyond January, so the Climate Prediction Center, they don't just release monthly outlooks, they also have seasonal outlooks too. Now, January through March isn't exactly a specific season. It's 2/3 of winter, January and February, and then the first month of spring. But these update every month as well. The longer the outlooks go out, the less accurate they are. So take them with a little grain of salt there, but leaning drier than normal is the trend, much associated with that La Nina pattern that we've talked so much about over the last few months. And then near normal, well to our northeast. But during the same period, you could probably have guessed it, looking warmer than normal for us. And then if you're looking for cold, that's in the northwestern U.S. into the upper Midwest. And then the rest of the country looking near normal for that 3-month period, January through March. Doesn't mean we won't get cold, but it means that the warmth will
be dry.
Warmth will outshine the cold. And then, as far as the dryness, there's the dry outlooks there. And then it does get a little wetter on that top right of your screen as you get closer to the Great Lakes states. That is pretty typical for La Nina as well. And La Nina does continue into, if it does continue into a little bit of spring, that can have an influence on our severe weather season too. We'll get to that here as we get closer to spring. But it does look like La Nina is probably going to be on its way out here, likely by the end of winter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, when you sat with meteorologist Tommy House here on Nick's First Warning, I remember you both talking about an area of low pressure or high pressure that could bring a cold blast.
Yeah.
Is that still something that we're looking at?
Yeah, we were talking about sudden stratospheric
Yes.
warming. That was happening in late November. That brought us a little shot of cold into early December. That has a bigger influence on the cold in states north of us, but it did bring us a little bit of cold. That has since sort of faded, and now we would be looking out for the next one, the next sudden stratospheric warming or just disruption of the polar vortex that doesn't require a sudden stratospheric warming to break off a piece of that cold from the north and bring it down. And certainly we could start seeing more of that into more of January and into early February. But we're not seeing any significant signs of that coming in the very short term. But these things are predicted more about 1 to 3 weeks out. So it doesn't mean we're not going to get one for the rest of winter.
You can catch them pretty early on then.
Yeah. So we've got a blog all about the outlook for January. That's online at KXAN.com. Also a good reminder that these do update one final time here.
Before January.
Just on the final hours of December. The Climate Prediction Center puts out their final outlook there. So what we've discussed today is their preliminary outlook, and then their final outlook will come out here as we wrap up 2025. And when that comes out, we'll update this story with their newest outlook, just in case there's any significant tweaks. But right now, I'm not anticipating such. Also, a good plug, download the KXAN weather app. It is new and improved, and some big refreshes there for you to check out. And it's free. KXAN weather is what you'll search in the app.
It's brand new.
Store, Google
It looks
Store.
great.
Yeah, it looks brand new. It is really our previous app, but with a lot of new features and a new look. Makes it easier, we think, to use it, to find what you need, for information to be easier to understand. You can customize the map that you use for radar. Notifications, you can turn things on, turn things off. We sure like it if you turned on the more extreme weather notifications so you can get alerted, especially in the middle of the night. Should severe weather come, we want to let you know about that. But great thing to have. And as we're getting into winter, we're now a third of the way through winter, it's good to have there as well for all sorts of information. Yeah,
and just like any new launch or app launch, there's always hiccups at the beginning, but I think we've gone past those, right?
Yeah, we tried to wait to launch this until most of those hiccups had been ironed out. And then there was just a couple little bugs at launch that we noticed. Something to do with the font of low temperatures on the 7-day. We've already worked to fix that, so it should be good to go now.
And I'm going to see if I can pull it up, but there is a fun video of Nick walking us through the new weather app.
Oh, yes.
And that can be found on our website. I can't quite find it right now, but if you just go to KXAN.com and search the First Warning weather app, I'm sure you can find that video there.
Yeah, and it'll give you links to the app stores of your liking and download it. Again, it's for free. And you can have it follow your specific location where you're at, or you can put in other locations you want to be informed about, just in case you got grandma in one neighborhood and your dad living in another, that sort of thing.
Kids in college, all
exactly.
that stuff.
There you go.
Well, thanks for joining me, Nick, and we can't wait to get that second outlook for January to see if this is going to stay.
Well, thanks so much, and Happy New Year to all of you.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Bye.